Welcome to Running the Table. The Butler Bulldogs have a new head coach, hiring Ronald Nored, former player, former Brad Stevens assistant, and longtime NBA assistant. It's a new era for Butler basketball. What does this mean for the program? Who is Ronald Nored, and what can we expect going forward? We're going to talk about all that, but without further ado, let's run it. So the big thing about Ronald Nored is as a player, he's one of the most storied Butler Bulldogs in program history. He was on the back-to-back national runner-up teams in 2010 and 2011 under Brad Stevens. He's the all-time Butler leader in games played and postseason games played. And he's a two-time Horizon League Defensive Player of the Year. Now, coaching, which is going to matter way more, he has more than a decade of experience as an assistant, mainly in the NBA and the G League. In 2013 to 2015, he was an assistant in the Celtics organization, first for the Maine Red Claws, and then as player development guy for the Celtics under Brad Stevens. And since then, he has been an assistant bouncing around NBA teams, first with the Hornets, then with the Pacers, most recently with the Hawks. So breaking down this hire, it is probably the most Butler hire possible. So the other possibilities in this, we were looking at Chris Holtmann, who's a former Butler head coach. He could have possibly came back. He's going back to DePaul. Micah Shrewsbury, he's returning to Notre Dame. That's not going to happen. John Gross, which I was personally going to be a fan of, but no, we got Ronald Nored. He was the guy the whole time. He's been in these coaching cycle discussions. He was in the last one before he hired Thad Matta. When he was an assistant with the Pacers, it was a probability that Ronald Nored could have been hired there, but he gets hired in this cycle, and it's really continuing the Butler way. They hire local faces and faces familiar to the program. Each of their last three head coaching hires has ties to the program. Nored is a former Brad Stevens player. Thad Matta was a former player at Butler, and this is his second stint as Butler head coach before he retired. And even before that, LaVall Jordan was a former Butler assistant in the mid 2000s. So Butler is continuing that trend of hiring guys that they know who they are. They've spent time within the program. They know what the expectations are. But what this means for the program is that Ronald Nored is going to have a new definition of what it means to be a Bulldog. Being a Brad Stevens guy, that is going to be the big thing, the big comparison for him is can he be the next Brad Stevens? I don't know. I don't know that it's necessarily fair to put those comparisons on him. I mean, he's had the job for what, a day, not even. So do with that what you will. But what that does mean is that he can take what he's learned from him as a player and one of his assistant coaches and taking that into his new role as head coach, as leader of the program. Now, a comparison that I can make and will make is hopefully he can be some sort of a new version of Matt Painter, who was a former player with no head coaching experience, returning to his alma mater to lead the program in a new direction for new heights. And Matt Painter did eventually find success, but it took a while, and he was not great at first. Those first few years were kind of rough, kind of bumpy. Matt Painter had to learn the ropes. He had to learn from his mistakes and eventually get the program to that perennial contender status. I would love for Ronald Nored to have that leash to make those mistakes so that you can then correct them and then lead Butler to the promised land. However, asking that in today's college basketball landscape isn't realistic. It is a very what have you done for me kind of thing. Either you're successful or you're out. But hopefully he can establish a clear culture and program identity as head coach of the Dawgs. But the biggest factor that is going to determine success has nothing to do with Ronald Nored. It's the transfer portal and NIL money. The game has changed, and Butler has drastically fallen behind in both of those categories. This isn't going to mean anything if you can't have the resources to get the best players available, which means a way bigger NIL budget, and they're going to have to be a lot more aggressive going after those bigger name guys and really pulling them into Butler. So I hope Ronald Nored is a good recruiter. Thad Matta was an excellent coach, but he didn't have the resources to build a true contender. A lot of people have said that about him. Pound for pound, one of the best coaches in the Big East. But without those resources, without that budget, without the ability to go get players, you can't build a contender. But Ronald Nored called this a dream job, and he's hoping to bring the program to new heights. Now, new heights means a national championship, so that's a really, really high bar, but we're going to take it step by step. Let's get back to a winning tradition, establish that culture, establish that identity, establish what it means to be a Bulldog the Butler way. I think a great goal is making the tournament in year one. It hasn't happened since 2018, but baby steps, step by step, and go from there. The sky's the limit. But that's all I've got breaking down the new Butler Bulldogs head coach, Ronald Nored, what it means for the program, where we can go, and how we get back to winning basketball. If you like more from me and the channel, Tim and I have a bunch of content, March Madness, Tim's breaking down Purdue basketball. We're right in the thick of the tournament, so the fun don't stop all March long. Check out some of our other content if you want. Stick around a while. We appreciate you. And until next time, I'm out. It's a little weird doing a solo video again. I'm gonna have to get used to that.